morning, Judy. How are you?
I am great. Happy Monday.
Yes, they're all blending together anymore. I don't tell between Mondays, or I think doing this makes my calendar set Monday again.
That's
You know?
that's why I put it in my posts all the time. Okay, what day is it today?
It's
Because then I
Monday. Yeah,
yeah.
it's all crazy. It's all gone upside down. And I know we have hope on the horizon, but we've had so long that we've been sitting here that I'm not sure it's going to come back real fast.
Well, it's never going to be the old normal. It's going to be the new normal.
The
Just have
new
to decide
normal.
what it's going to look like.
Which great segue. I know you had to pivot in a big way when things got upheaval. So can you tell everybody where you started and just briefly how you got to where you are today?
So my company, Selling in a Skirt, is based on a triangle, and a triangle has three sides. And so that makes it easy for me. So it was speaking, coaching, training.
Mhm.
March 13th, 2020, two of my sides of my triangle were eliminated because there was no more live anything. So there was no more speaking, and there was no more training. Coaching, I always did virtually anyway. So I had to figure out like how I was going to stay in business and stay relevant and stay whatever. And so I became a certified virtual presenter, which, I thought, okay, well, that will help.
That's
First, you have,
interesting.
yeah, except they have to have content to do that. So I had to build all these new things because I didn't have anything that was necessarily virtual. So I
Uh,
built all kinds of programs to become relevant in the
you did
space.
that so quickly.
Yeah, you have to do it quickly.
You really do. You
Yeah.
do. And actually, I was looking at some of it over the last week and I was like, wow, where did she find the time to create all this stuff? I mean, you must have just not eaten or like had the colonel bring you food.
Well, yeah,
That's it.
sometimes that happens, but I think, when you just decide like what it is you're going to do, you just have to think of a different platform,
Right,
and
right.
so, and that's really what happens. You just become a little bit creative and you decide that you have to create boundaries also because you can work 24/7 when you work from home. And we all know that. So we
Yeah,
just
we've
didn't want
done
to
it.
do that again. Yeah.
So you're partnering up with Alexis on your selling in a skirt program, your skirt strategy program.
Yeah.
How's that been going for you?
It's great. It's always
A
good to
lot of people
have.
go through.
Yeah, it's great to do that. And it's also great to have somebody that you can bounce ideas off of. So that was fun as well.
Mhm.
And the skirt strategy is really designed for women by women. And I think that that's what differentiates us a lot is because it is a sales program and it isn't the old way of selling. I don't want to say it's the new way of selling, but it's the way of selling that makes sense. It's all built on relationships. And so
Right,
we have a lot of fun doing it. And
right.
it's
Now, how did you
yeah.
and Alexis meet? Did you work together before or no?
I met Alexis years ago when I was the keynote speaker at an event, and she was on the team that was putting it all together and creating it. And she'll tell you that she stalked me for a while. I don't know if she really did or not, but she will tell you that. When you ask her, how'd you meet Judy? I stalked her. And then we decided to do a couple of things together, and we became really good friends. And so it was
Awesome.
easy.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, between that and then you have your leadership program you're building too, and it's just amazing with your books and everything you've got out there. I don't know, how do you juggle it all? How do you
Uh,
keep it all moving, you know?
things do slip through sometimes, or you like this morning I got onto a call that's for April 12th.
Oh,
I just put it in my calendar for today. I have no idea why, and I showed up and she was excited I was there, but she said, it's in April. I'm like, oh, okay.
oops.
So I mean, things you just have to not have so many things on your plate all the time. I remember with my kids, I would not give them the opportunity to have 12 different activities because you just can't do all that and you can't do it
Yeah,
effectively.
yeah.
So I was more of a limiting mom.
Yeah, well, I was too. It was one a season. They
Yeah.
could do one sport a season. And if they wanted to do anything on top of that, it had to be without anything else going on. Like some people would stack two things on the same day, like their baseball practice and then ballet at night or what. I was like, yeah, none of that. One thing
No.
a day,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
And Sunday, nothing. So,
Right.
and they didn't like that because a lot of their friends, would do all their fun activities because they have sports all day Saturday and Sunday they'd want to go to the movies. And I'm like, no,
Yeah. We're
we
just
don't
gonna stay
drive on
put. Yeah.
Sundays. And so that was interesting. So I have found though that one of the things I struggle with in juggling all this stuff is our inherent nature is to multitask.
Mhm.
And what I've found in the last 6 weeks for myself is I'm really much better off if I don't attempt multitasking, because what comes out of it isn't as good. So I've really tried to protect like 2 hours in the morning, turning everything off, like don't touch anything.
Mhm.
And that seems to be really helping me. Do you have any way to control the noise for you?
Well, first of all, I would say that multitasking is not all that it's cracked up to be,
Right.
and people don't do things effectively 100% when you're multitasking because you can't. But you do feel like you're getting so many things done. It's just never done completely. So for me, I do one thing at a time. I can't do everything all at the same time. Even when I want to, when I'm sitting and I'm writing, whether it's a program or an article or whatever, I don't do anything else. I don't listen to anything else, with a headset on, or even if the colonel talks to me, I have to just say, you know what, I'm writing, because what happens is I'm listening to be polite and effective, but what I'm hearing, I end up writing. And so sometimes I'm writing a chapter of something and I'm thinking like, where did that come from? Then I remember the conversation I was having and it's in. So I really am very focused. I don't like to do too many things at one time. So for me, when I do anything like your 2 hours in the morning, when I have my quiet time, it's so I can do one thing. For me personally, I just like to do one thing to its fullest and get it done. One thing and
Yeah.
get it done. I'm also a big list checker. So I like to check things off. And when you're doing 5 things, you can't check 5 things off. You can't check
No,
one off because you're not
you
done.
can't show the progress or that you've done on any of it.
Yeah, right.
And I know I had to go from, we have so many electronic tools that, and I'm in technology, so God forbid I should say this, but I had to go to paper. I have a paper calendar that doesn't move from my desk, that at the end of the day, I sum it all up and I cross things out, and all the
Right.
little yellow things from the day before get copied and get thrown out because it gets too messy. And I was finding myself spending more time putting the reminders into the electronic calendar to remind me of stuff when it's so much faster to just write it down or write it on so I had to abandon some of that electronic stuff, which is, that's not what you hear from anybody. They're like, oh, you got to use this, you got to use, I'm like, it takes too much time. I don't have that much time,
Yeah, I think it's whatever works for you.
Right.
Honestly, I have a calendar on my phone, but I have calendars everywhere else, regular, real calendars. Or,
Mhm.
people will say to me, well, what kind of program do you use to get all your documents in one place? And do you use Slack? Do you use Trello? Like, no, I use Excel. To me, it's like so much easier to put everything on a list. Yeah, okay, yeah, you could do it however you want, but I know for me, at least I get it done. I'm not first deciding, okay, what should I try now? Oh, there's a new app for that. No, I don't care. I don't care. I do use electronics, but yeah,
I mean, I have Google Calendar and I have Outlook
yeah,
Calendar, and just keeping them in sync is difficult enough. And I have to do that for like this meeting and other meetings, that goes right into the calendar. But
yeah,
the little stuff I can't, the
no.
don't forget to pay this bill and don't forget to do that. And that all has to get written down. So it's liberating to hear other people have ways to just do what they're used to doing and not feel like they have to adopt all these things to be, the latest and greatest.
Yeah, for me, I like to understand how things work, but then I'll say, okay, so did that save me time or not? I
Mhm.
remember when I was in a corporate position briefly in my life, just once. And one of the things we had to do was we had to create this CRM for all of the insurance agents. And so the company decided they didn't want to buy one that was made for that industry, made for that company. So they bought one off the shelf. It was still millions of dollars, but they didn't want to spend more millions of dollars. So what happens is you present this to, 4,000 producers, and they're like, yeah, this is too hard, or it's too hard to find this or whatever. So because I was in charge of all training and development, I had to come up with a way to get 4,000 people to at least try this. So I came up with a scavenger hunt. And I would make them find something like, oh, you want to send a birthday card? Okay, so find the birthday card and da 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 da, and I would give them directions to do it. And so they found it, and it was easy for them to understand it. But half of them didn't use it anyway because it was more time consuming for them to enter this in and put up the, what happens next and what's the disposition and da 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 da. Where you could just write it in your book and say, okay, I have to call Denise on, March 31st.
Yeah.
So it just really depends on what it is. You can make it easy for people, but still it's not
Mhm.
what you want.
How are you managing your list? Are you using Infusionsoft, or are you Active Campaign, or?
I have Active Campaign. I still have my trusty, this is my trusty pink pad that, hold on, I'll show it to you. If you ever get onto my pink pad, and that's what people will tell you, if you're ever onto my pink pad, then it gets done 1, 2, 3. I do have, Active Campaign. So I do have that. And so I have a real CRM system and stuff like that. But my personal list is on, paper like you.
Well, I do too. I have a CRM as well, but it comes as the main.
Pulling and screaming.
Yeah, well, I mean, I use it actively, but I have to force myself to go back through it once a week and just go through and make sure all the tags are right, and make sure that when I have time, because I feel like I didn't spend enough time organizing it for what it is should be now versus what it was when it started. So it needs a little work, as it's grown, you kind of have to do that maintenance. And I haven't caught up with that yet. So too many things on the horizon.
Yes.
So tell me about your new position. You're excited about your coaching opportunities in our group.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about it. As you know, our group is like the most amazing people that there are. They really are. And it always surprises me when you come into a new group and people welcome you, as opposed to saying, let me check her out first and let me see what she's about. They just welcome you. And I like to do that for everybody else, to make sure that they know how important it is to feel like you belong. And so when I had the opportunity to do coaching at the Launch Academy Live, I met new people and some of the regular people as well, but I met some new people and tried to make sure that they understood what kind of community this is. Because, today everybody's looking for connection more than anything, more than any time in our lifetime, we're looking for connection. And when you can make connections with people and somebody asks you for a favor and you're like, yeah, I'm in, yep, what do you need? It just means so much more. And when you have the ability to, to be the coach, and somebody says, I'm struggling with this, or I just need to, have confirmation about that, or I have no idea what we're even talking about, things like that. And you get to pull things out of people that all of a sudden you see them go, okay, I'm good. I'm good.
I totally agree. It is such a rewarding thing. And I know we often get feedback because of the field we're in and how we're working and the platforms we're on, that it's a time waster.
Yeah.
And I think it's so different than that. It really has the ability, and in this one group that we're in, it is a support system more than anything else. And every interaction there is of value either to yourself or someone else. And the benefits you get from it are just immeasurable in some ways. Whereas some people have such a negative viewpoint. And I know that comes from the top and it trickles down, and that's what makes this experience different for us all. But it is amazing. It is amazing, because I even find some of the things I hear from other people as they're beginning, and their hesitancy and their fears and all those things, go, wow, 6 months ago, that was me. Yeah, in some ways. And so it's boosting or positive for me to see that for myself, but then also to realize, well, I can help this person, and just, say a couple sentences and
make a difference.
That might take some of the edge off for them. It's really amazing. So
yeah, and you see that people are struggling because there's a lot of things they need to be able to do today, and the truth is you don't need to do it all today. You just have to, obviously you follow the blueprint, but you also just need to stop and listen. Like, I would watch a video, whether it's for a Facebook ad or whether it's for a program or whatever, I would watch the video in its entirety first. And then I'd go back and I would watch it and I'd stop and I'd do it. And I'd watch it and I'd stop and I'd do it. And then when you get to the end and you did it, you're like, whoa, that's awesome. But then, but for me, I mean, technology for me is not like it is for you. I struggle with it. I learn a lot about it. I mean, I could, do pixels. I could do all this stuff that I had no idea what I was even talking about, but I could do that now. But when I get to a point where I'm like banging my head against the wall and I put it in the group, it's not to whine and it's not to complain, but I know if I'm struggling with it, there's at least one more person that is. And a lot of times I would get messages from people, they would say, I keep all your questions in my book because I know I'm going to have that question. Or I love that you ask these questions because I didn't know how to word them. And because I've always been called the question queen, I sometimes ask a lot of questions, but generally speaking, the
They're very
questions that I'm
helpful.
asking, right. Well, I
Very.
know they're helpful to me, and I'm figuring if there's just one more person that could get this, so they don't have to worry about, oh my goodness, what do I do next? So, and
I
you
mean, they
always
should
have
have a page in this group that's Judy's pinned posts, like,
yeah,
because
right.
Judy's pinned questions, it's an automatic FAQ page. I mean.
And I don't want it to get to be like, oh my God, there she is again, because I've had that before. And when I walk into a room, people would roll their eyes going, I know there's a question coming. But the truth is,
Good,
this is
though.
new for all of us, right? It's new
Yeah.
for all of us. So,
Well, and it was for the group as well. I mean, the program itself was in its beginning stages. So I think
yeah,
a lot of the foundational work was there, but it needed to be fleshed out in a lot of ways. And I think, you and I and a few others were pivotal in helping that organization happen, so
yeah,
that
that's
was
awesome.
kind of rewarding too, to be
Yeah,
in on the ground floor of some of this stuff.
yeah.
So what's on the horizon for you? So your leadership course is coming. So you're going to be juggling, your
More.
skirt strategy and this else, and you're just building this amazing program. So you're just going to be busy forever.
Well, I guess it's more about like what is needed, what's wanted, what are we hearing. Right now, the sales is really what people are asking for, because coming out of what we just came out of, there's so many people that didn't want to do sales, with their existing clients, because they kept thinking like, this is not the right time to sell anything. Not true, because
Mhm.
people still, their business still has to go and, still has to run. So sales is very, very big, and people have a negative connotation when it comes to sales. They're like, ooh, I don't want to be salesy. We're anything but salesy, and that's what it is. So we're getting this, so it's going to be really rock solid, and then it's going to just be able to help more people, and that's the beauty of it. My mission has always been to help one woman a day. Well, and then I always got criticized for that too, like, why didn't you do 100 women? I'm like, no, one woman a day exponentially is a lot of women. Well, if we could do the same thing, right, if we could do the same thing in sales, and we could help one person not feel like they can't sell, or not feel like they are so salesy, or not feel like they're not being authentic, or not feel anything negative about having to sell something, we'd have one person a day. I mean, that's a lot of people. And so, we don't care if one person shows up on the webinar or 100 people show up. It doesn't matter. We're going to give you the same exact information and be
Right.
just as excited about it. That's just the way
Well,
it
I
is.
mean, I also love that you tie sales with leadership so well,
Mhm.
and that in essence, the unique ways that women present themselves in the business environment and professional environments is more of a leadership style and more of a sharing of knowledge style than it is sales.
Mhm.
But it's
Mhm.
so in sharing knowledge and your support of your own expertise and support of your own leadership and presenting yourself as a leader, then you almost sell instantly without selling,
Yeah,
so the tying the two together
makes sense, right?
makes sense. And I mean, that's how, we've been criticized over time for not being, but in essence, we are who we are, and who we are is more collaborators and sharers and supporters and leaders to in a lot of ways. So I think that it all ties well together, but I get the not wanting to be sales. I mean,
Yeah.
I never wanted to be sales either, but it's also the stress of it and the being in front of people and trying to be scripted, not be scripted, and that
Right.
whole
But you're doing
presentation.
it. You're doing sales. You're doing sales right now. You're
I'm
doing
trying,
sales
yeah,
right now, because
right.
really what we're doing is having a conversation, and that's what I always say. Sales is all about a conversation.
Mm,
So what you're doing is you're selling, your brilliance by having the coffee chat with different people, all the time, and bringing in different conversations. So you just made a sale, really. I mean, it may not be money exchanged this minute, but going forward, you've created an audience that's watching and listening to you. And
Mhm.
so I always tell people, I've been in sales my entire life, and I've never, ever, ever, ever sold anything. And yet I've always been the number one salesperson because I never sold. I only had conversations. That's
Right.
all I had. And I think that that's important because what you're doing now is exactly the same thing. And so I love it. So when you said, do you want to, when I said, yeah, I didn't even, I
Well, I
didn't
think
know what I was doing.
this is comfortable for me to because I have met so many amazing people. And so when they talk about doing Facebook lives and doing videos and things, it's like, well, I want to have people know who I am, and I want to share my thoughts, but it's so much better to share it with somebody else and to
Right.
provide something of value and different points of view. And I learn and they learn, and it's a great exchange.
Right.
So
And
this
that's
just
sales.
fit for me. It's what worked for me because I've been
Yeah.
struggling with how to get something that fits, and this is what works for me. So I get to talk to everybody I want to talk to, and have it be good for all of us. So it's fun.
Right. And that's why I love this. I think it's like
Well, thank you.
it's a
Thank you.
perfect platform, and it's comfortable for both parties.
Right. Right.
And anybody that's watching, it's also comfortable for them because they're realizing, oh, so sales is not, it doesn't have to be, boom, 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 boom. It's not
Right.
like that because that's what we're doing.
Well, and I also feel like making time for this, as if I could tie this back to our segue of time,
Yeah.
when you really put things in perspective and what's going to give you the most impact and catapult you forward and put you on a path, you have to carve out time
Mm-hmm.
for things like this that expand yourself and get you to know other people. And so it's not all about just connections for sales and
Right.
dollars. And you really have to build yourself up and build other people up and build your network. And it's not just clicking, it's having conversations, as you say. So I'm just thrilled that I get to do this with so many wonderful people. So this is
Right.
awesome.
And you're being intentional.
Yeah. And
That's
we're
the
supposed to
point.
be drinking coffee, but I've
Well,
been
I
talking
have
too
my
much.
water. So, but for time, you go back to time again. Time is something that leaves us. Okay, we can't store it, and we can't save it, and we can't say, okay, I'll use it tomorrow, or okay, I have an extra hour, I'm going to save it for. You can't do that. Time is our most important and valuable asset, and yet we don't know what the heck to do with it sometimes. Like, we waste time, and it's okay to waste time sometimes, but how do you get the most out of your time? And for me, it's about being intentional. I always say that when I'm somewhere, I'm there, and I'm intentional, and I have harmony because I'm there, I'm present. What happens in 15 minutes from now, I don't know, but right now I'm 100% with you. And so I'm intentional with my time. And I think
Right.
that's really important. People have to be intentional. If you feel like, binge watching something all weekend, be intentional about it. Say that I just
That's
need
what I'm
some
doing.
downtime,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I give yourself permission and just do it. But if you say, well, I'm going to really work hard, but here, I'm going to really binge watch at the same time. Don't do that. Just be really intentional, because that's what you do the best with your time, is when you are real. Be
Right.
real about it.
Yeah. I feel like I do. I'm getting better at saying I have to shut down. And my
Yeah.
shutdown is turn all the lights off, close this door, and don't walk into it for 24 hours. And I mean, that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur, is that you can make those choices. And I always
Yeah.
didn't have those choices in my previous iteration. So I revel in them now. So yesterday was that. Saturday and Sunday were that way this weekend, where I just kind of was like, yeah, I need a break. It's just not working. So
Yeah.
we do have that wonderful ability right now. We have a lot of other things on top of us, but we also get to choose, and that's good.
Well, one of my friends does a great thing for time. You talk about time, is she puts an autoresponder on every day, not just when she's away,
Really?
every day. And she said, there's nobody more important. If you're calling and I'm not answering, or if you're emailing and I'm not responding right away, just know I'm with a client, and nobody's more important to me than my clients. So I will get back to you within 24 hours. So this way, Nobody expects her to call or respond until 24 hours. If she does it in 4 hours, great. She'll say, I don't respond at any time before 4 o'clock, and then you'll have it between, in the next 24 hours, whatever it is. But she's very intentional about what she does.
Right.
But she also values time. So she's not going to be looking at her email 55 times an hour, and she's not going to, play games, because she's really intentional with her time. But she also makes sure that you understand, whether you're a client or a friend or whomever, that she's not going to get back to you until
Right.
then.
Set the
And
expectations.
right. So you're basically training yourself, but you're training everybody else not to expect it this minute.
Well, and I know we have to go soon because we're getting close to time, but you're familiar with Dan Kennedy, right?
Yeah.
And everyone gives him a lot of grief for his style of, living by fax and not using email, and having an assistant schedule everything, and only having like 4 days a month that he sees people, and I just think that's so powerful. I think that's the choice that he made to be successful, and it fits him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't curmudgeonly. It wasn't, I don't believe in email, because, as we've seen with Kim and others, he believes in media and all sorts of electronic media. But for him to get his status and to promote his business, that's what he had to do. And I respect that. I think that's an awesome thing. Not that it would fit for me, but it works for him.
But he's not saying that, okay, this is my way or the highway either. He's saying this works for me. And I think
choose yours.
That's right.
Right.
There was, when I first started my company, there was a guy who was a big speaker, and he said to me, okay, so here's your goal. This is what he said. Here's your goal. You should be charging $25,000 to $50,000 every time you speak. And you always add on 2 days before, 2 days after that they pay for it, because you want to be able to, go around the area that you're in. It goes through this whole list of things. And I said, well, why is that my goal? He said, well, that's my goal. And I do believe that any speaker should have the same goal. And I said, totally not my goal. I don't think he ever spoke to me after that. But the point was he was telling me what his goal was. I don't know if he really did that or didn't do that, but that wasn't my goal. So Dan Kennedy was telling you, I'm only working like this. He's not saying to you,
go do that.
This has to be this, or don't bother. He's not saying that works for him. For me, I know I have boundaries. So I know when I work and when I don't work. And I'm very strict with my calendar. So I just make sure that my boundaries are in place. And, so otherwise, because I become,
we all get tired. We get tired, and we're not our best selves. I think when we let that happen, and it gets out of control. And this has been wonderful talking with you, Judy. Thank you so much for spending the time with me this morning. And I will send you a recording, and I'm sure anybody who's watching, which I haven't even been watching the chat, has been, will enjoy it. And we'll get back together again soon, I hope. Congratulations again on your additional role. I think it's a wonderful thing. I'm really, really happy for you.
Thank you. And I'll see you later.
You'll see you later. Thank you so much, Judy. Bye.
Bye.